Understand the diagram, but struggling with long sentences? Don't worry, in this video, I will cover everything you need to know about IELTS Writing Task 1 process diagram with amazing tips. Let's get started. Step 1. Read the prompt. The diagram below shows how a biofuel called ethanol is produced. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main feature and make comparisons where relevant. First, the topic. The key here is understanding that the diagram illustrates the production process of ethanol. Next, the instruction. The task asks you to summarize the key steps in the process. Attention, for process diagrams, you don't need to make any comparison. Step 2. Read the diagram. Now let's look at the diagram. Start by reading the title, Biofuel Production, How Ethanol is Made. This title is a great phrase to paraphrase in your essay later on. In this diagram, there are no numbers to show the sequence of the steps, but don't worry, just follow the arrows. The diagram shows 9 steps in the ethanol production process. Each step is accompanied by a picture. Here is a quick tip. Look closely at the last step. You will notice that the carbon dioxide produced in the final stage becomes part of the energy source, making the cycle a continuous process. This makes it a cyclical process, meaning the process repeats over and over in the same order. In IELTS Writing Task 1, there are 2 types of cyclical diagrams. Type 1, life cycle, which describes natural biological processes, such as the life cycle of bees. Type 2, manufacturing cycle, which focuses on production process like this one, how plastic bottles are recycled. Our task falls into type 2, the manufacturing cycle. In some tests, you might find diagrams with numbered steps. In that case, the number will guide your writing. However, you might wonder, where do you start when describing a cycle diagram without these numbered steps? The answer is simple. Start after the ending. Since this is a production process of ethanol, it will end with the final product, ethanol, which leads us to the final step of using ethanol as a biofuel. Therefore, we will start from the plants growing. Now let's go through the steps in detail. Step 1. Trees and plants grow with sunlight and carbon dioxide. Step 2. The plants are harvested by a machine. Step 3. Pre-processing with the machine. Step 4. Cellulose is extracted. Step 5. The cellulose is processed. Step 6. Sugar are obtained. Step 7. Microbes are added to sugar. Step 8. Ethanol is used as a fuel. Step 9. Carbon dioxide is produced and becomes part of the energy. That's all for the steps. Now, one common challenge when reading process diagrams is encountering unfamiliar words. Does it bother you too? Here is my tip. Guess the meaning based on context and pictures. First, you should guess the form of the words, noun or verb. For nouns, you don't need to understand the meaning. Just recognize that it's a noun and you can directly use it in your essay. For example, you don't know the words ethanol and cellulose. From the context, we know ethanol is a biofuel. A fuel is definitely a noun. And cellulose, the picture shows no machine, no action. It's similar to sugar. It's like some kind of materials or substances. So I will guess it's a noun. I can directly use it in the essay. For verbs, they usually refer to actions that are represented by machine or tools. For example, here in processing, you can see test tubes and flasks, and in harvesting, we always see a machine. So don't stress about unfamiliar words in diagrams. You can guess their meaning based on the context and the pictures provided in the diagram. Now that we have gone through the steps, it's time to plan your ideas. Planning matters. Planning for a process diagram isn't just about listing the steps. It's about grouping the information logically and highlighting the key stages. I recommend using the classic 4-paragraph structure for your essay. Introduction, overview, detail paragraph 1, detail paragraph 2. For the introduction, the goal is to paraphrase the topic. For overview, you should describe the process in general. For detailed paragraphs, we describe the grouped steps of the process in details. First, introduction. For this task, except the paraphrasing, I recommend emphasizing the cyclical nature of the process as well to make the introduction a little bit longer. Write the plan down. Keywords will be fine. Intro. Cyclical production of ethanol as biofuel. Next, overview. In overview, we describe the process in general. Instead of listing all the steps, my approach is grouping the steps into several main stages to enrich the content without overloading details. I will group the steps into 3 major stages. Stage 1, pre-processing. Stage 2, processing. Stage 3, using ethanol as a fuel. The grouping will make the description clearer and more organized. Write down the plan. Overview, 3 stages. Pre-process, process, use as a fuel. Let's move on to detail paragraph. Now you should describe the steps in detail. In detail paragraph 1, I will describe stage 1 and 2 because they are the process of making ethanol. Stage 1, plants absorb energy from sunlight during planting, followed by harvesting with machinery, and pre-processing after the plants are harvested. Stage 2, the cellulose in the plants is processed into sugar, and then microbes are added to turn the sugar into ethanol. Write down my plan. Stage 1, planning, harvesting, pre-processing, and outcomes. Stage 2, cellulose to sugar, add microbes, get ethanol. Detail paragraph 1 is down. Detail paragraph 2. For detail paragraph 2, we will describe the final stage and the use of ethanol as a biofuel. Sentence 1. Ethanol is used as a biofuel for various vehicles, which results in the release of carbon dioxide. Sentence 2. The carbon dioxide is then absorbed by plants and becomes part of the cycle. Then write the plan down. Biofuel of vehicles release carbon dioxide. Plants absorb carbon. Now that we have mapped out our plan, let's follow it to write the essay. Compare with planning, writing is much easier for me. Let's start with writing the introduction. First, paraphrase the topic. The diagram below shows how a biofuel called ethanol is produced. It's time to use our full paraphrasing tips. First, synonyms. Replace the word shows with illustrate or demonstrates. Second, how a biofuel called ethanol is produced. We can come up with several alternatives, like the production process of biofuel named ethanol, the process of ethanol production, how the biofuel ethanol is made, how the biofuel ethanol has been made, how to produce the biofuel ethanol. Is this too hard for you? Don't worry. Just memorize these 3 sentence patterns and swap them. First, how to do something. Second, how something is done. Third, the process of doing something. For example, here, how a biofuel called ethanol is produced. It's a second sentence pattern, so we can use the third sentence structure, the process of producing ethanol. So my introduction paragraph could be, the diagram illustrates the cyclical process of producing ethanol. Follow the planning. I use cyclical to highlight this diagram is different from others. But this still feels a little bit short for a full paragraph. To elaborate, let's add more details. For example, we could mention its use as renewable energy source. This gives the sentence more depth and shows the significance of the process. So the revised introduction is, the diagram illustrates the cyclical process of ethanol production and its use as a renewable energy source. Introduction is done. Let's move on to overview paragraph. For overview, we can expand based on the plan we created. Overall, the process involves 3 main stages, comprising 9 steps, starting with plant growth, progressing through chemical process, and ending with ethanol being used as a fuel in vehicles, completing the loop. The highlighted sentence pattern is perfect for studying the overview paragraph. Just to memorize it. Then describe the stages. Starting with, ending with are my favorite phrases. I use them every time. Remember, the overview is about giving a clear, general picture of the process. The details will come later in the body paragraphs. Now let's move on to detail paragraph 1. Add details in the description is the key. First, stage 1, sentence 1. To describe the first stage, we start with plants absorbing energy. Some students might write, plants and trees absorb sunlight and carbon dioxide as energy. This is a clear, simple, nice sentence. But if you want to make your sentence longer and more descriptive, my trick is asking questions and add the answers to your sentence. For example, you can ask, what do plants need energy for? For surviving. Where do they get the energy from? From the atmosphere. Then we can write, initially, plants and trees absorb sunlight and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as energy to thrive. If you found writing long sentences hard, try my tip. Add the answers is a simple trick to make your sentence longer and more detailed. Initially here helps show that this is the first step, setting the scene. Sentence 2, describing the harvesting process. A simple version could be, once mature, the plants are harvested. Of course, you can ask, what are they harvested for? For processing. What is their purpose? To make ethanol. So, here is a more detailed sentence. Once mature, the plants are harvested as raw materials for ethanol production. As we know, ethanol production is the topic, and we have already used this phrase in the introduction. So here I will paraphrase it again, turning it into for producing ethanol. Sentence 3. Describe the pre-processing step. Next, the pre-processing stage involves crushing the plants to extract cellulose, preparing it for further chemical processing. Combine 2 simple sentences, you will get a complex sentence. Let's move on to stage 2. Describe the processing step. Sentence 4. In the second stage, cellulose is chemically broken down into simpler sugars. I use adverb chemically and adjectives simpler to make the sentence more descriptive and longer. This is also one of my favorite tricks. Use adverbs and adjectives to write a longer sentence. Sentence 5. Next, we describe the addition of microbes. This is a straightforward process, but we can still add a little more detail. Microbes are introduced to the sugars to begin the fermentation process. Sentence 6. For the final sentence in detail paragraph 1, we will combine the process of conversion and purification. I will write like this. This biological process converts the sugars into ethanol, which is subsequently purified to create clean biofuel ethanol. Again, this sentence combines two simple ideas into one complex sentence, giving more details and a flow. Okay, here is my tips for writing longer sentences. First, ask questions to generate more details. Second, add adverbs and adjectives to give more depth to your description. Third, combine simple sentences into complex sentences. Write long sentences doesn't have to be difficult, just try. Now, detail paragraph 1 is done. Let's move on to detail paragraph 2. Detail paragraph 2, sentence 1. The final stage involves using ethanol as a biofuel in various vehicles, including planes, cars, and trucks. In this sentence, we list all the vehicles mentioned in the diagram, providing detailed information about each step in the process. Sentence 2. During operation, these vehicles release carbon dioxide, which is then absorbed by the plants as part of their growth process. This brings us back to the starting point of the cycle, completing the loop. Sentence 3. This cyclical exchange not only completes the process, but also emphasizes ethanol's crucial role in supporting an eco-friendly, sustainable energy system. This sentence wraps up the entire process, highlighting ethanol's environmental benefits. To conclude, for process diagram, always focus on providing detailed information. Prepare some sentence pattern and try the magical tips. If you found this video helpful, be sure to check out my other Task 1 diagram sample videos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video.